afternoon.
Good evening.
Or whatever time you're listening.
And you're listening to...
Listen very carefully. The podcast for people who love all things hello.
So, let's begin.
I'm Kim Hartman, and I played the part of Helga.
I'm Guy Siner, and I played Lieutenant Gruber.
And I am Richard Gibson, and I played Herr Flick.
S2, E14, something about Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
And it's The Reluctant Millionaires.
Yes. Ow! Ow! Oh gag. What were we going to say about this? You had something up your sleeve, didn't you?
I had something to say, ladies and gentlemen, listeners, viewers. Unfortunately, we've had to decide this week that we're going to make some changes. I'm awfully sorry to announce this, but we know you've got very used to the format that we've been using up until now, and it's really gone very well, but we decided that we needed to make this change.
Shall we make our way over to this?
I think I need my friends to support me in this because, well, perhaps Richard, you'd like to take over.
We shifted a slot that we often do in the show, and it's entitled, would you like to help me with the reveal? Gin Corner! Now, do you remember last week we introduced you to the botanicals by our friend Emma, and we've actually done it. So, Kim, you chose the elderberry.
I did.
Would you like to pour some out
Oh,
into your glass?
Smells good.
And you can do... Guy, you're on the pink peppercorn, aren't you?
I am on the pink peppercorn. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen.
I have got a tea strainer somewhere if you want to use that.
I think I'm going to manage without.
Yeah.
I'm on the rose petal, and we're going to try it at the beginning. Such fun.
Genuine California pink peppercorns.
This is the English rose.
I cannot wait.
And this is the English elderberry. Elderberry.
That's very Kim's kitchen.
I thought it would have been white, you know. It's lovely, that colour, isn't it? I like it. Oh, and yours is such a pretty pink colour.
It looks like a urine sample.
I think Guy's looks like a quite healthy urine sample.
There's only one thing for it. Bottoms up.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh. I could do with a bit more tonic.
I have to say,
Ugh.
that
Can I taste yours?
that really does taste of pink peppercorns. I love it. Is the elderberry not good?
No. No, I've got bits of elderberry in my
In your teeth?
You'll soon get used to it, especially with the crisp.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh yes, a crisp always helps.
Yes. Be a man.
Yes,
You'll be
maybe.
fine.
This is hard work doing a podcast, isn't it?
Would you like to taste
Better.
my...
Oh, that's quite good actually. It tastes more of gin than rose petals though. That is good.
Isn't it wonderful? Oh, try the rose. You'll like that. No?
No,
You're not doing well, are you?
I'm not doing well.
Try the California pink pepper, which I think is wonderful. I don't care what you say.
She's going to neck it. Neck it.
That's lovely.
Isn't it though? Isn't it? It reminds me of home.
Yes,
Cheers,
you've done
ladies
well.
and gentlemen.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And
Cheers.
that is the end of
Gin
Corner!
Unfortunately, now we have to work.
We'll take it. Right, gosh, can anyone remember what we're here for?
This is going to be Series 2, Episode 14,
And don't you start.
and it is
I'm not
entitled The Reluctant Millionaires.
I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but again, there was a different flavour to this episode. Do you remember last week we were saying it went into another direction? And it began, the episode, almost with a sketch. It was a sort of party piece that had almost nothing to do with the show, with Carmen and the singing, Edith singing.
Oh,
and the Toscanini and all that stuff. And it was actually really a sketch that could have fitted into any episode.
Yes.
Had nothing to do with the plot.
Nothing.
And there were quite a few
Now,
setups like
why
that.
was that? Why?
My guess would be that one of the writers was writing more than the other, because you then got the money counting thing, which if you haven't seen it, it was one of those scenes, sketches like you get in pantomime where people are counting out the money and then they get it wrong and they have to, somebody keeps it and puts it in their back pocket. And
one for you, 5 for me.
that's it. It was all that. And I wonder, David...
One for Mimi. Who's Mimi?
Yeah, fine.
That was wonderful, yes.
lovely.
Who's Mimi?
But David Croft had a background in sort of entertaining
Music hall.
troops, music hall,
basically.
probably pantomime and all that. So it may be he had more to do with writing that episode. So he did the things that came easily to him, or maybe not easily, naturally, or maybe it was Jeremy. But it did have a particular flavour of funny set pieces that were funny just for the sake of it and not to push the story along.
Yes. Yes, that's true, because it was part of just the cafe story in general, not part of the story that is going on with the money and the paintings and the...
Oh, it did get back to the story, but there were lots of lovely moments like that.
It was a terrific setup, actually, wasn't it? Because the whole of Carmen singing like or with Jeanette MacDonald, and then when we got to the end of the episode, and the
Paul
record
Robeson
goes on and Paul Robeson comes on.
But Monsieur Leclerc drops the records, and you think, was that meant to happen, or did the actor accidentally drop them? He picks them up and you go, oh, I know where this is going.
The only one left was Paul Robeson.
That's right. Old Man River. Oh my
Old Man
God, I
River.
know it's the end of the episode and we've only just begun. But what Carmen did with the Paul Robeson thing was superb.
She was so good, wasn't she? I mean, it's terrific stuff. Always, whenever you watch
and knows
Carmen,
what is required. She understands.
And you see so
exactly.
much that's going through her mind all the time. Yeah. I used to love watching her in rehearsals. I remember very early on watching her do a scene, which I might have mentioned before, which where she was sweeping the cafe early in the morning, and she had her hair all tied up with a curler sticking out the front, and she had on a sort of
fag hanging out of her
and
mouth.
a fag hanging out of her mouth, and it was just... You could see she had such depth to that character. Actually.
But it's always real. It's never about here's me being funny.
No.
It's about you're going to like this. And that to me is what amuses me when I watch comedy. The difference between somebody saying, aren't I being funny?
Yeah.
Virtuoso. And somebody saying, I've got a joke for you and you're going to love this. Watch this.
Yes.
And I think that's...
And we can all name people who do both.
Well,
We won't, but we can.
These days, a lot of comedies, sitcoms, are done by people who are stand-up comedians, who are massively skillful in their own field, and I would be terrified to take it on. But they often are more aware of having getting a set number of gags. They aim towards gags rather than situation. And I once heard an in-depth interview with Steve Coogan, who I have huge respect for, and he was saying it took him a very short time to notice the difference, because he started really more in the kind of comedy club scene.
Yeah.
And he cottoned on to how it works. And I mean, he is a superb actor anyway, but I think Carmen does it almost better than anyone.
Yeah.
Doesn't she?
Yeah. She's just so watchable. Well, that's what I always love about comedy, really, I think, being character driven. Rather than anything else.
Which is
you
exactly
get
what
to
David
know
said.
the characters.
And situation driven.
And situation, but yet the character within the situation.
Given the situation, this is how these characters will respond.
So that, I mean, one of the lovely things we've said on many occasions is the joy, because in those days, so many years ago when we did Hello, Hello, the scripts would come through the door. The postman would bring this great big pile of scripts, and you'd read through them and you would know, once we'd done one series, the first series, by the time we got on to the second series, you would know exactly how your friends were going to be delivering their lines.
I can't wait for the read-through.
Yes.
When I can hear him, her doing that line.
But
I can't wait.
But you knew, just reading the script, you would be chuckling away because you would know exactly
You could hear
that Sam Kelly would be going, blah, and, you know, all the other
But in the
things
writing process, once the actors had come along and established the characters, the writers wrote with those actors' voices in their heads.
Yes.
Now, I had a favourite moment, and I'm allowed to say this, a favourite sort of double moment, when you two beloved people played a scene together. And you said at one point, I wonder who could have done this, or Kim said, I wonder who could have done such a terrible thing. And you said, oh, well, it must have been someone who hates me. And Kim came right underneath and said, but everyone hates you. And it just was so perfectly underneath. It was just so gentle.
Yeah.
And then she said, do you want me to kiss you? And likewise, you came right underneath, very unusually, and said,
Hey, what do you mean?
yes. It was just so gentle and so underplayed, and it was just beautiful, both of you.
And the editing, I think, was nice there, because the yes, and that was the end of the scene.
End of the scene.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. But normally,
I think I'd said, I feel
may
that
I kiss you? Yes, you may.
I feel so alone or something because I've been robbed.
Yes,
I
yes.
said, will a kiss help? Or something like
Well,
that.
we used to
Yes,
giggle,
it's just-
didn't we? We used to say, Flick and Helga, how many times that have not been seen in the show itself, how many times would Herr Flick have been sort of tearfully sitting on the side of the bed going, I'm sorry, Helga. And
No one understands the
Helga would be
Gestapo.
sort of patting him and saying, never mind, Herr Flick, we'll try again later. I'm sure it'll be...
And then you say things like, oh, you have a very soft spot, Herr Flick. And that'll be, I nearly failed my Gestapo exams because of it. It's all that. But it's delicately written. They don't just do obvious gags that those characters always do. They always let people
Yes.
have a bit of...
Yes.
And so it's nice, so then when the situations come up, you as an audience know how the characters, because you've got to know the characters so well, you know how they're going to react before they actually react,
Yes.
and that becomes funny.
Yes.
But I do always appreciate a sort of gentleness, an underplaying, a gentleness in comedy.
Well, you
rather
had a few
than the bang,
moments,
bang,
right?
bang.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think
You know.
that's what we enjoy, and that's what we enjoy watching. And what
And that, yeah.
you had some lovely moments like that in this episode as well, with the money in the trousers and all that. But
Those trousers.
as a slight digression, but trousers are funny, aren't
Yeah.
they? We were saying there are certain things in comedy that are funny: bicycles, dogs, trousers, old people. You know what I mean? There's a list.
Bananas.
Bananas are a bit obvious, Kim, if you don't mind my saying so.
Yeah, all right.
Especially in war-torn France.
Yeah,
But, you know, there are certain...
When there weren't any.
That's right.
exactly.
But, and it was a lot of trouser action this week. But
But your
What's the
trousers have
time-
seen a lot of action, haven't they? They have had
Throughout
everything
the
stuffed
series,
down them.
everything goes down my trousers,
But
one way or
what-
another.
what's
But it's
the
because
time
they're so
gap?
baggy, isn't it? I mean, they've got
Because
that
they're
lovely...
jodhpurs.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, but does this episode, is it the same day as last week? Does it carry on straight away?
Yeah, I think so. Or the morning after.
Just as well,
certainly.
because you'd have been walking around with paintings down your trousers
I
for
was walking
a
around.
few days.
Oh, right, yes. No, it was
If
only
it
for one
wasn't the
day.
same day, it means you must have gone to bed in your jodhpurs, or you got up in
Oh,
the
right.
morning.
No,
and
no,
put
I
your-
think, yes, I think it was obviously meant to be the same day.
But it was so funny because it came towards you, that joke, with the stuffing of the money down the trousers, and then you thought, hang on a minute, he's still got
I don't-
paintings down his
Yes,
trousers.
but I didn't remember that. And so when I said, well, obviously we'll have to put the money down my trousers and just give me a moment to readjust myself. And I thought, what are you doing down there? And then out come the paintings. Oh, yes, of course, he's still got paintings down his trousers. I thought he was just rearranging the furniture.
Hello.
Hello, here's the head of the
Now,
studio.
here
the head of
comes
it- the head of the studio.
We had an early gin corner tonight.
Good for you.
To our dear
And I'm a
viewers and
little-
listeners, here is Ron Hartman, the head of the studio.
Say hello.
We thought he was passing through, but he stayed.
Well, I'm sort of looking for a glass with water.
Glass with water.
Glass
I
of
can give you a
water?
glass with
Do you want a
elderberry
glass of
gin,
gin,
if you like.
darling?
I'll have a gin then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
good.
I think that's a much better idea
Wow,
than
they're
water.
dazzling.
Definitely.
Yes. I will now go and get a glass.
Thank you.
This is all on a professional basis, by the way, because we promised the gin corner last week, didn't we?
We did.
And here it is.
Do you think Ron would like a Portuguese gin, a foxtail maybe, or?
I think a foxtail. I think you'd like a foxtail.
Would I?
I'm just going to get you.
That's the Melanie
Oh,
one.
the Melanie one. It is
Look
the
what they've done
prettiest.
to my song.
Yeah.
I think
It
I
is
made
the
that
prettiest colour.
stupid joke last week as well. didn't
Yeah,
I?
you did. But I wasn't going to mention it. I wasn't going to snub you like you snubbed me.
No, that's true.
Who
I think I
recorded?
snubbed you twice today. haven't
You
I?
snubbed me every time I opened my mouth.
But I know that you'll get even.
What did who recorded that? What did they do with that song?
Melanie.
But
Melanie gin, you see.
I see.
The gin has got a Melanie flavour to it.
They
a
are.
pop singer who just had that one name. She was known
One
as
name.
Melanie. Yeah.
And now
I
she's
see.
magnificent.
Like Cher.
She's sort of
Yeah.
imposing and impressive. And
Oh yeah.
Have you got a tonic for him?
Thank you. Good.
Isn't it pretty though?
Yeah.
Isn't it a lovely colour?
Who's the chap?
Don't you think?
no, that's Holland.
Kocher,
I think we should
no,
show the
Belgium. Kocher and
Sorry.
Gerard.
Oh right.
And Gerard, they were two heroes in the First World War
Oh, good for them.
in Newport.
We go to a place called Newport quite often and have a weekend there, don't we?
Yeah,
Belgium.
Strictly on business.
Belgium.
We walk
Newport,
around Belgium
It's
in
on
our
the-
uniforms.
on the Channel Coast in Belgium.
We go around
It's just down
this
the road
town
from Dunkirk.
in Belgium dressed up like Germans. And one
They
time,
love us.
yeah, and one
Okay.
time they offered to drive us home, and
Lovely.
we said from the club, it was from the restaurant. We said, "Oh no, we're only round the corner. Don't worry." And then we realised it was rather further away than we thought.
Yes.
And we were stumbling around the back streets of
Oh God.
Newport,
How's that?
dressed
Like
up
it?
in German
Lovely.
uniforms, and people
Really
were going
nice.
past. trying to-
Portuguese.
Excellent.
That's happened a few times in our
It
lives.
has.
The one I
hasn't it,
brought
many
last
times
time.
now, though.
Jolly nice.
It's lovely, isn't it, that one?
You bring some lovely stuff to drink.
Yeah.
And I'm liking these crisps.
Just.
These forest
You're wonderful
mushrooms.
hosts and you deserve it.
Yeah. Now, this has very little to do with the podcast, but
Are you
Okay.
working?
What
at the moment?
podcast?
Yeah, we are.
yeah, what podcast?
What podcast?
We're filming. Yeah.
We're filming.
And in fact, you're in it.
Oh, I'm filmed.
You're a
aren't I?
character in our
Oh, I
podcast.
see. Very good.
What people don't realise, I think, is that Ron actually is a fictional character. He's an actor that we've hired to play the part of Kim's husband.
That's true.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
indeed the studio head.
I can only do one part. And that's her husband. And the money is not good.
Trust me, it's not that good for us either.
yeah.
Marvellous. So, what else happened in that scene? I'm
Oh.
just trying to.
Kirsten had a wonderful moment. Did I use the W word again?
Yes.
Yeah.
or are
you
we
did.
allowed to do that now? Because we've gone a dinner on it, haven't we? There was a list in which they said, what will the resistance spend the money on? It was guns, this,
I
and
love
then the hairdresser, and then the makeup. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she knew exactly how to paste the list.
Yes.
Because one of the tests of an actor often is how you deliver a list, isn't it?
Yes, it
It's
is.
about the thought
actually.
that you give to each element of
Yeah.
the list.
I particularly liked when Mimi arrived in the town square, dressed as a German trooper, with the helmet and the top coat which reached the floor, and the old men of the who happened to be in the town square all started whistling "Hi-ho, hi-ho" from Snow White.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And I wondered whether Disney had given permission.
Because
I think you can actually use sort of like 10 seconds or 14
30
seconds.
seconds. You know.
30
Oh,
seconds.
can you?
Yeah.
Well, the head of everything.
there is
tells us.
definitely a rule on it, because when I'm editing the
30.
YouTube stuff,
Yeah.
sometimes there's a problem with the...
Oh, is there? Oh,
Yeah.
right. So some of
Literally
them.
30 seconds is.
No, it's much less than that. It's 4 seconds or
we're
something.
going back a while ago when we were producing, and I
okay.
expect the.
But if
the rules have
anybody
changed.
4
feels that
seconds,
we're
that's
exploiting them,
nothing.
we're only too happy to pay.
It's probably out of copyright
For
by
the-
now, anyway.
Yeah. But I had Mimi Snow White written down. I'm
Yes, that's
That
what
was
I
the
got.
hi ho.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's the hi-ho, hi-ho, yes. And it was just beautiful. I love these old men who just sort of took her in and just started whistling.
Yeah. And her
Yes.
gun was almost as big as she was. She
Yes.
had a rifle over
Yes.
her shoulder.
Yeah.
And it
Was it
virtually
specially
touched the
made?
ground.
Do you
Probably.
think?
Yeah.
I would think so, yes.
BAFTA Buckingham.
I think they had great fun doing all that sort of thing, didn't they?
And speaking of BAFTA Buckingham,
Yes.
we should give a shout out, should we not? Costumes. Sheena Napier.
Oh,
This was a Sheena Napier.
This was a Sheena Napier episode.
yes.
And Sheena Napier we haven't given nearly enough attention to.
No, I know.
This October, we will be appearing live in our Listen Very Carefully stage show
In Guildford?
Salford.
and Shrewsbury.
For booking details, go to fane.co.uk.
That's F for Fanny
A for Alphonse,
N for Nouvion.
and E for Engelbert.
One character in the whole of this comedy who would turn down the money. If you already know the answer, don't jump in here.
Would turn down the money.
When everybody in the episode is grasping the money,
Oh.
and there's one character who actually says, I can't be doing with this. John.
Me?
No. Can you guess which character in the whole of the story would refuse the money? Actually, I can think of 3. But there was one who actually does. Can you remember that?
No, I can't.
The actor refused.
No, the
Yeah,
character.
the character.
Oh, the
The
character.
character in the story. Everybody else is keen to get their
Yeah.
hands on the money, and there's
Yeah.
one character who actually gets the chance to it and gives it back. Guess. If you don't know the answer,
Yes.
have a guess.
Crabtree.
Correct. I'm a policeman. I can't possibly guess.
Oh, yes.
And
In,
he's actually a
in
policeman.
this episode, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah, and he's not a policeman.
No, he's not. And he has
Yes,
a
it's
million
very
francs.
good.
And he said, no, I can't possibly. I'm a policeman.
He's so embraced the part that
That's
he's
right.
been instructed to play.
Yes.
That's why he keeps threatening to arrest everyone. Even the people whose side he's supposed to be on.
That's right. I think the airmen probably would turn it down as well, wouldn't they?
I don't
can
think so.
see-
Do you think? Oh, yes.
I can imagine them
Yeah.
being a little bit unworldly about it.
Yeah.
Now, this afternoon we've been a disgrace, actually, haven't we? We started with Gin Corner,
Yeah.
and we talked an awful lot.
Nothing disgraceful about that. I think it was an extremely good choice.
Yes,
But that's just me.
but only when we play it back will we realise whether we've actually said anything interesting or just talked drivel.
After the gin.
But that pretty much is the pattern with every podcast, isn't it? Only afterwards do we realise.
But
So-
we just talk drivel. Yeah.
Yeah, and we do talk a lot of drivel. We've now done 40 podcasts.
No,
Which
we
means-
haven't, have we?
Yeah, roughly 20 hours of us talking drivel. So,
But this
Why
is
should
awful
this-
because we've done a lot and there's only 90 episodes. We're going to have to think of other
I
things
know,
to
it's
do.
heartbreaking, isn't it?
Can't stop.
No, we can't.
No.
Listeners,
Yeah, but-
if you have any ideas for what we do when we run out of the next 50 episodes that we have to do, please send in your suggestions to pod
At
Helga.
Gruber
Flick.com.
That's pod at
Helga
helgagruberflick.com. Just in case we have talked utter drivel, we thought that we might just fill you in with a fun letter.
A fun letter which you can use to edit in case you have to take out too much drivel.
I just said that.
Yes.
Yes. So,
You said it, but not nearly as eloquently as I did. Go on.
You do
Oh.
have a point.
I don't know about that, really.
Quiet. Go on.
This is from Chris Williams, and he says, "Hello, Kim, Guy, and Richard. I've only just discovered your brilliant podcast." Oh, shucks, Chris. "And have been catching up on them on the way to work. In the early episodes, you were concerned that Allo Allo might have got a further series of Secret Army cancelled, and I don't think you ever resolved that question. As a big fan of both shows, I think I can put your minds at rest. Secret Army ran for 3 episodes from 1977 to 1979, with the final series ending in the liberation of Brussels, since Brussels wasn't reoccupied by the Germans during the Battle of the Bulge in the winter of 1944. Allo Allo's first series didn't start until 3 years after Secret Army in 1982. I thought I was a geek. There really wouldn't have been any more episodes to make. In fact, 1 year before Allo Allo came out, they'd already released a sequel to Secret Army called
Kessler.
Correct, starring
Bernard Hepton.
Clifford Rose.
Clifford Rose.
Yes, who Herr Flick was sort of modelled on, I think.
Oh, was he?
This was a drama about a West German detective hunting down the Gestapo officer, Standenvater Führer Kessler, who had escaped at the end of Secret Army Season 3.
What was that about Vater?
Vater Kessler.
I'm afraid I misread it.
Standartenführer.
So I don't think you need to lose any sleep. Chris, I'm going to lose several nights' sleep over this. I've spent years telling people that it was cancelled. Looking forward to hearing more of your terrific stories. Best wishes, Chris from Bedfordshire. While we were making Hello Hello in the beginning, there was this story that Gerard Glaister, who was the producer of Secret Army, and they were saying that they had to cancel the next series of Secret Army that was slated in favour of Howard's Way, which he also produced. But I had this from David Croft, and what would he know?
Exactly. Who was he? Who was he?
Yeah, so it was probably one of those sort of amusing off-the-cuff things that David Croft said as a joke, and we took it seriously. But anyway, that was quite an interesting observation, which I certainly knew nothing about.
And thank you, Chris, for putting us right.
And I'm just going to try and pronounce that name again. Standartenführer Kessler.
Brilliant. Yes, it's his
I
rank. It's his
preferred
rank.
the first one.
Colonel. It's his
I
rank.
think I did as well.
Yeah, I did.
Guy, I think you're going to read this one.
I have a lovely letter from one Jeff Young. Greetings from the Minneapolis area. I grew up in New York City, as did I. Hi, Jeff. And was always a huge Anglophile, both in my music and in Britcoms. For me, Are You Being Served and Allo Allo were always number 1A and 1B, the top of the pyramid. Since the Does That Suit Madame podcast wrapped up, I haven't heard of that.
It's Are You Being Served podcast.
Since the Are You Being Served podcast wrapped up, I've been wishing that one would cover Allo Allo. Now I just found this podcast, and a bonus that is that it comes with you three comedy legends. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I am binging it to get caught up. Has it occurred to you to come up with a collective group name for podcast listeners? The Grateful Dead had the Deadheads. Jimmy Buffett had the Parrot Heads. Might I suggest the Peasants? I think that's brilliant.
Like it.
Hello, peasants. Hello. Here are a few favourite lines of mine. Gruber. The walls are thick, the doors are stout. Why are you waving your potato about? Gruber to René, telling him that he has dynamite in his trousers. René, do not listen to gossip. The British airman after René's pantomime. If Hitler comes in, we're not to go upstairs with him. I didn't know he was like that. Oh, yes.
Very nice.
Thank you for your work on this, Jeff Young. Eden Prairie, Minnesota. And thank you, Jeff. Lovely letter.
Thank you, Jeff. Didn't we have come up with Podsters?
We came up with Podsters, but I prefer Peasants.
I think I like
Hello,
Peasants.
Peasants.
Very nice.
Love it.
So that's wrapping it up for this week, yes?
That's a wrap up for this week, yes. I think it's time to say goodbye to the peasants.
Goodbye, peasants.
Goodbye, peasants.
Peasants.
So, if you have any questions,
For answers,
Or stories,
or Kim,
Guy,
or Richard,
contact us on
Helga.
Gruber.
Flick.com. That's pod at helgagruberflick.com.